Hi everyone, Gazavat here. I decided to do a quick analysis of a hand posted by the cleaner on the Liquid Poker forums. I think it's a common situation, so the analysis will apply to a lot of similar situations. The cleaner defends 3-bet in position with King Jack suited, which is alright, and calls the flop bet with an open ender, and on turn turns flush draw and asks if it's a standard shove. I've used STOXEV program for the analysis. It's very powerful to recommend to everybody, but since not that many poker players use it, that's why I've done a video type format, because even if I post the STOXEV file, not that many people will be able to take advantage and check it out on their computers. Although there is a free trial, so I recommend everybody who is technically inclined to check it out. I think you should be able to open decision trees prepared by someone else, although there are some limitations, but I cannot really comment what is restricted by the trial, by the free version. Alright, so as you can see, to save some time, I've already put everything, flop, turn, the pot, and I've made several assumptions for the analysis, which obviously I'm going to discuss. Our first assumption is the 3-betting range, pre-flop, most regular. From the stats, his overall 3-bet was 8%, so in this particular positions, which is small blind versus cutoff, I assume it will go up to 10%, but we can't be sure with 2,000 hands in. I've put the following range: 9s plus, ace queen, ace suited, offsuit, ace king. And most regulars prefer to keep their range out of position more balanced, so they 3-bet hands like king, queen, offsuit, ace, jack, offsuit, king, jack, off, queen, jack, offsuit, and I've put a suited connector like 9-8 suited. They're gonna have more junk, but the analysis is not gonna change that much, because we're only interested in the particular range that he bets flop and bets turn, and obviously he's not gonna bet turn with less than a gut shot. I mean, the board is too coordinated, he can't expect to have too much fold equity, so he's not gonna bet like pure air with just like one overcard or something like that. Still, if you have any objections to the range I've put in, feel free to comment. Here we assume he bets top pair or better, flush draws, open ender, and overcard gut shots, which is ace jack, ace king. I've put a variable to weigh the times he bets the gut shot and the overcard. This obviously different villains will bet different percentage of the time. And also we can assume that he's gonna have ace jack all the time pre-flop, so that takes care of this as well. So therefore it's not reasonable to have 100%, to assume that he will bet 100% of ace jack and ace king, and that includes having 100% ace jack pre-flop in his 3-betting range. And we're gonna compare the raise versus call situations. Let's first begin by deleting this and just seeing how the raise does against this range. We'll have to remove the 50% in this case. Alright. I assume that he'll call any top pair or better, and his flush draws, because they're combo draws, in this case it's only 9-8 of diamonds. I think it's reasonable that he's not gonna fold any queen on the turn. I mean, he might consider folding queen jack on the turn against a shove, but I don't think in today's games people are really like to fold, so we assume that he'll call any queen that he bets on the turn with half a stack left behind. And he'll fold, I assume he'll fold all his gut shots and open-enders. So in this case we have 80%. We assume he'll bet 80%, but we want to graph the variability in his, like in the percentage he bets the turn with his gut shots and overcard. So we're gonna use the graphing function, which is very useful. The variable is number 2 here, and we're gonna graph from 0 to 100. Although, as we discussed, it's not reasonable to assume he's never gonna bet turn with gut shots, or that he's always gonna bet, because he's not gonna have all the S-jacks. And the 10% step, which will do the 10% increase in the steps. As you can see, it is always plus EV, no matter what his frequencies are. It's always plus EV to shove. So, I mean, the next step is to see whether it's more plus EV to shove or to call, because obviously it makes a big difference. We have to remove the checkpoint now, and we have to load the tree as it was before. Now I have to explain myself what assumptions I made in the call part of the tree. So if we call the turn, I assume that villain will shove or check call, top pair or better. So what that means is that he's not gonna fold the queen on the river if all the draws miss and there's no king or ace, which I think is kind of reasonable. And I assume that he'll check fold, or the action will go check check. He wouldn't put any more money in, pretty much he wouldn't put any more money in the pot if he has a queen and a king comes or an ace comes. And also I've assumed that we wouldn't bluff at all. So if he checks his missed gut shot or his missed open-ender, we'll never bluff. So if he checks, we check as well. And I mean, if we for his shove, I assume we'll fold, even if we river a king or river a jack. I mean, we should fold against his range that we put him on the flop and the turn. And we're gonna call only if we hit our flush or our straight. So let's see how this performs when we assume that his frequency to bet the turn with gut shots is 80%. We're not gonna consider 100% because it's not realistic, really. We have to wait a little bit. Alright, so now 50% of the time he shoves, 50% he calls, so we can compare the EVs. As you can see, the shove sorry, this is with 30% frequency. It's not 80% as I thought, but we'll do the 80% as well. So the shove with 30% frequency of betting the gut shots on the turn is about $14 plus, and for calling it's 23 with all the implied odds and river action. So in the case of 30 or lower frequencies, call is the superior option. And let's see the other extreme, which is like 80%, and see how the two options do when we have the 80% frequency. This is pretty much an opponent that is a high turn barreler. He likes to barrel a lot, and we want to see how the EV changes in this scenario. I mean, it's obviously the shove will improve as his betting turn barreling frequency increases. So as you can see, from 13 it went up to 23, while the call option is about 21. So if his turn barreling frequency is closer to the 80% frequency, shove is more plus EV. But the thing with frequencies and ranges is that they're just assumptions. So we can't be sure how this particular opponent acts in this specific situation, especially with only 2,000 hands in. So our general strategy, as you saw, that the call performs pretty much the same whether his frequency is 30% or 80%, while the shove is really influenced by that. So against the total player pool, the call is the much better option because it has a stable EV with the against the different frequencies, while with all the implied odds, while the shove performs good only when the frequency is higher, while when it's lower, clearly a call is much better. So my overall suggestion based on that analysis that you should call unless you have like very, very specific reads about his frequency, which is not very realistic. If you have any questions about the analysis or my assumptions, if I made any mistakes, please feel free to ask me in the forums. Bye for now.